This might be the most lucrative service business you've never heard of.
Last year we did 1.3 million with a % margin.
And it all started with just $300.
And my wife was like, Ty, what in the heck are you doing? And why did we just buy $300 of goo?
But what is this service?
So we had a project where the homeowner was quoted $250,000 and we were able to help them out for only $3,000. You know, most people don't know this is an option, but once they do, it's a no-brainer.
Why have you never heard of it?
This is the same technology that was actually used on the Statue of Liberty.
And how exactly can you take advantage of this opportunity? Do you think anyone could succeed with this? Ty, it's great to be with you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, man.
This is a unique business model that you don't see every day.
Yeah.
What is Preservan?
So, I mean, it's really simple. We repair and restore wood when it gets ugly. Rather than have to replace any of these things, you can have us come in and use our epoxy resin repair system to fix it and not have to replace it. So it saves people a ton of money.
How much money are we talking?
Well, we say we're 90% less than replacement, but when you think about like big picture, I've worked on projects, they had window and door replacement over $500,000.
Wow.
And we were doing the projects for maybe $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000.
How competitive is this industry?
You know, it's interesting. It's high demand. You can just look all around and see all the types of wood things that could decay and rot. But as far as competition doing what we're doing, there's almost nobody right now in this industry. So it's a wide open space with a lot of demand.
Can we go see, a finished product or a house somewhere that you've done some work on?
Yeah, I've got a really cool project in a neighborhood completely different than this one, only about 20 years old, but we just did a ton of wood rot repair there, and I think you're really gonna like it.
Let's go check it out.
Let's go. We actually are just getting ready to wrap this project up, and we've done a ton of things. We're getting ready to sell this house, and so mainly we did a bunch of work around these really cool, beautiful wood windows that are on the house.
Interesting. So is windows one of the main topics you guys like to touch on when it comes to houses?
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. Windows are where we probably provide our biggest ROI for our customers, for our neighbors, because they can be just really cost prohibitive to replace, especially when they're beautiful windows like these. They can cost tens of thousands of dollars, and especially as many windows as this house has, we can save the neighbor a ton of money.
That's fantastic. And can you tell us a little bit more about the size and scale of your operation?
You know, in total, we at this point in time have 15 locations across the United States. With that, I think that we have somewhere a team, including franchisees, of around 50 people. And we've done over a few thousand jobs in total. And just last year alone, we saved our neighbors over $20 million. And, you know, in lifetime total savings, I think we've just crossed the $50 million mark.
That's amazing. So I'm interested to learn some more about the windows and the process you guys were telling me about prior.
Yeah.
Is this one of the windows you guys worked on?
This is one of the windows that we've just finished this window up. And here's what's really cool about the window. For the most part, you can't even really tell where we did the repairs at. This window alone, being the type of window it is, and a real original wood window, would be $6,000, $7,000 for a window. And we've actually done multiple number of small repairs around this window. Specifically, one of the main areas that we repaired is right down here at the bottom, but we've also repaired some of these other places here on the window. And that's what's crazy. You know, it's little small things that have rotted that we're gonna require this homeowner to completely replace it when it was really easy for us to come in and repair for him.
So in total, how much did you end up saving this customer overall?
You know, if I was to estimate the number of windows that we worked on, we're going to be roughly around $200,000 to replace. Yeah, we were just, I think we're about $3,000 or $4,000 to do the entire job. Not only that, we saved them a lot of time, because if you can imagine what that project would look like, of course, you got to have someone come out here and give you a quote, and then they got to make the windows. You're talking about something that was going to take 20 weeks or so to get these replaced, in a huge construction project. And I think we were here from like quote to project finished just a couple of weeks.
Wow. I was wondering if you could show us and our viewers your company vehicles and what goes on in there.
Yeah, man, I'd love to. Let me show you.
Sweet, let's do it.
This is our RRV, our rot repair vehicle. It's a Kia Soul, and our technicians and our teams drive either Kia Souls or hybrid Mavericks.
Fantastic. Yeah, I noticed you guys got the partial wrap going on. We got the logos. We've got the text on the side. It looks really clean.
We wanted something that definitely would stand out, but kind of give a classic look. So we wanted people, when they saw it in the neighborhood, to kind of go like, what is that? And kind of want to take a second look.
How did you get into this business in the first place, and what were your startup costs?
What I wanted to do was restore old houses. And my neighborhood asked me to fix up an old window. And so I bought $300 worth of epoxy to get started. And my wife was like, Ty, what in the heck are you doing? And why did we just buy $300 of goo? But I took the product out into my 100-year-old garage and I fixed up a window. And so a lot of trial and error. But yeah, $300 of goo is what got me started.
All right, let's see what we got in here. Pretty small footprint.
Everything that a technician, everything that a franchisee needs to do to save people is just right here in the back of this vehicle.
Well, thank you for showing me the tools, but you think we can go see them put to use at a job site?
I got a really cool job site I'd like to show you.
Awesome. All right, so we are here at the job site. What do we have going on here today?
Well, on this one, we're working on a ton of stuff. So definitely this is started to rot. And what we usually do is we're gonna take and just start to see where it's soft, and then we hit it right there. It's soft there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we apply the epoxy, we're gonna do a couple of things. We're gonna drill some holes in here, and we're gonna inject an epoxy resin that's gonna absorb into the wood fibers, and it's gonna harden it up. And then we're gonna add a filler, and we're gonna fill in the voids, these areas where they're completely gone. Those two things are gonna create a chemical bond. The liquid is gonna bind with the filler. So when you sand this off, you're getting a permanent repair that, you know, you paint over it, and then it's gonna make that wood, like I said, harder than what the wood was naturally.
Interesting, okay. So show us what we got going on here. I see we're at a door at the bottom. Where are we at in the process here?
In the process right now, we've removed all of the wood rot, and this is what's left. We've got this bottom rail here, and then of course we got all these voids. And so now it's time for us to start kind of rebuilding and reforming this with our epoxy product. So he's gonna come in here, drill some holes, inject it, and then start to fill it in. But he's gonna get this completely rebuilt like it was like it's brand new.
So kind of take us through your job estimation process, right? So what did maybe this job cost, and how do you get to that number?
Yeah, so I know this job was right around $3,000, and we're doing a number of things. And so the way that we'll quote is we'll look at the total amount of epoxy that we're gonna have to use on this job site. And then after that, we're going to look at the total number of different areas that we're gonna repair around the house. The final part is just kind of we add in like a complexity factor and then kind of come up with the cost. And when you think about it, we're saving the homeowner thousands of dollars.
So this job comes in at about $3,000. What are we looking at for margins for that?
You know, our typical margins are gonna be in the high 60, low 70%. So we're making, you know, somewhere around $2,000. And here's what's really cool about that. Because we're offering this kind of like one-of-a-kind service, we're not comparing apples to apples, we're apples to oranges. So we're able to pay our technicians some of the top wages. So we're paying a multiple of living wage with our average technician making over $25 an hour.
Wow.
So it's a win-win. Our neighbor is saving thousands of dollars. Our franchisee in our business is making really healthy margins. We're keeping it simple by not having a ton of overhead, and our technicians are able to make a good wage, and it's something they can grow on.
Definitely. When I hear 60 to 70% margins, my ears start perking up, and I'm sure our audience is too. And we'll dive into a little bit more on that later, so stay tuned. All right, Blitz time with Ty. Ty, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What are the biggest misconceptions about your services?
My biggest misconception about my service is going to be that we're using wood to replace it, not epoxy.
What's your most memorable customer interaction?
Ooh, let me think real quick, because my most memorable ones I shouldn't say out loud. Is that my answer?
What surprised you the most about running this business?
What surprised me most was how like people were going to be so grateful and thankful for the service. I mean, I always knew we were going to be helping people. I just didn't know they would appreciate it as much as they have.
That's sweet. What's the best and worst part of entrepreneurship?
Oh, the best part of entrepreneurship is that I'm my own boss. Nobody tells me what to do. The worst part is that I'm actually not my own boss. Everybody tells me what to do. My customers are telling me what to do, my franchisees, and so and that keeps me up at night. You know, sometimes because you have this responsibility, both to your customer, my neighbors, and then to my franchisees, and so that's the worst part.
And then, what are the most famous landmarks you've worked on?
Oh, wow. Most of the most famous landmarks that we've worked on are mainly stuff here in Oklahoma. So we've worked on like Will Rogers' birthplace. I think we worked on Barry Switzer's house. We've worked on Kevin Durant's former house. And then like our Nashville franchise, Kenny Chesney's old house, or, you know, it's Nashville, right? So we've worked on some pretty cool people's houses.
That's sweet. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I would have dinner with Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia. I read his book, Let My People Go Surfing, kind of around the time we were putting this thing together, and I just loved his idea of that reluctant business owner driven by sustainability, and it really kind of set in with me. The principles aligned with me, and so he's still alive, and so that'd be my one.
If you weren't working on Preservan, what would you be doing instead?
If I wasn't working on this, I would still be trying to figure out how to help people fix their houses in a way that didn't require replacement. I have ideas all the time about, well, how could you fix concrete, or how could you fix brick, or how could you just fix something and not have to replace it? So that's where my head's always at, and that's probably what I'd be working on.
Great.
Running a business like Ty's takes serious craftsmanship, not just with wood, but with how you build the brand itself. That's because building a brand from scratch requires business owners like Ty to answer questions they've never had to before. What should my logo look like? Is my website optimized to attract new customers? How much wood does a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Missing answers to these questions means missing out on value for your business. Whether you're restoring porches or running the world's greatest YouTube channel, you can't do it all alone. Our secret to answering the questions we frankly don't have the answers to? Fiverr. Fiverr is where business owners go to find top-tier talent for just about anything. Logo design, copywriting, website development, you name it. They've got your back with expert freelancers in over 600 categories. We're talking vetted professionals and years of experience across every imaginable industry. Basically, if you've ever said, I'll do it myself, and then immediately regretted it, Fiverr has someone who can do it faster, better, and without pulling your hair out. We've worked with Fiverr freelancers on everything from UX and UI testing for our website to graphic design, and their expertise has been an absolute game changer for us. Need proof? Well, look no further than the video you're watching right now. As the channel continued to grow, it became harder and harder to keep delivering the steady stream of content you crave without sacrificing the quality you love. So we turned to Fiverr, and that's how we found Mark, an insanely talented freelancer video editor who's helped keep our upload schedule on track by efficiently cutting videos like this one that helps catalyze the channel's growth. Thanks to Mark and Fiverr, we've bought back hours of our lives and scaled the business without scaling our stress. They make it easy to find, communicate with, and evaluate high-quality talent like Mark. From his impressive portfolio to 5-star reviews from other clients, we knew he was the real deal. It's all about making the process simple. Ty's clients trust him to save them time and money on home repairs. Fiverr kind of works the same way. Get the expert help you need to grow your business without delays or budget blowouts. Thanks again to Fiverr for sponsoring today's video, and be sure to visit fiverr.com to check out the services available and get 10% off your first order with code UpFlip.
So let's talk marketing.
Okay.
What's your marketing budget, and where are you most successful at finding customers?
Yeah, so our marketing budget, typically speaking, we're going to spend about $300 to $3,500 a month. That's mainly going to be through digital ads and supplementally with a little bit of direct mail. We really focus on meta ads. What I love about that is that we're able to really get connected with our community of home buyers, our community of homeowners or neighbors, and really kind of show these before and afters. The other part is that I just love the way that we can just get out there and we can film a video of us in the area, like, hey, here we are today fixing this, and we can run that as an ad. And so our community, our neighbors, get connected with us as the local experts rather than just some high produced, AI driven ad or something.
How long does a project like this typically take you guys?
Most of our projects are going to be 2-day projects. We have an application day, the day we come in, we remove everything, we apply, and we have a day 2 where we come back, we sand it, we shape it, and we paint it like we were never here. So 2 days is what most of our projects are.
Gotcha. And the stuff we've seen so far, has that been a day 1?
Yeah, we've been mostly showing you day 1 stuff, and we've got a few things that are ready to go to day 2 here.
Can we go see those?
Absolutely, let's show you.
So we're here at what the day 2 would look like for a project. What do we got going on?
So on this one, and really all around here, we're going to be going through and taking that. We built it up heavy. Now we need to take it down and sand it. And so we're using our sander there to sand that down, blend it in, and then we can come over the top of that and paint it to match.
Gotcha. Can you take us through your year-over-year revenues and net margins?
Yeah, so for last year being 2024, our total revenue for a location here in OKC for one territory was just over $400,000.
Wow.
And I think we were right at about 65% for our gross profit margin.
So Colby's been working on this door here. We decided to come in and check on him, see what's been going on. It's looking pretty good. What do you guys got going on there?
Yeah, so he's starting to fill it in. He's got it kind of braced in place so he can start to pack that epoxy around it and really kind of, well, first of all, glue it back together and then fill in all those voids so he's got something to sand down when he comes back tomorrow.
Fantastic. I'm curious, why did you choose to go the franchise route instead of continuing to grow this business on your own?
Yeah, failure would be the reason. So no, I had this construction business that was specializing in restoring historic old house windows and doors and commercial projects. And we had grown that to a 4-state region. So we were working in Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and Texas. And then COVID happened and we had to bring everybody back. We had this opportunity to think, how are we going to do this going forward? We were stretched thin. And I started thinking about, well, how could I do this differently? And in that time where we had a little bit of space and quiet and clarity to rethink our business, we decided we were going to grow not through managers. And that's what I had. I just had managers everywhere and they're not fully committed. And it was with the franchise model that I got introduced to through the E-Myth that I was like, you know what? We can build a really awesome business through franchising. And the great thing about through franchising was like, my vision was we were going to build this business together. It was going to be us who had developed the systems and the processes and them who were going to be the local representative of the business, who were not only going to own the service, but really be the person there serving their community. And so that's kind of how we got to franchising. It definitely wasn't a direct path. Once we committed to that, then we kind of built the whole thing around that.
How much can franchisees expect to make in their first year?
It really depends on the person, right? It depends on the area and depends on how much they're willing to commit to the systems. But what I can say is for our corporate location, OKC, when we first launched in our first year, we made just over $300,000 with still a mid 60% gross profit margin. So you can expect out of a single territory, I think, that you could do that if you're willing to dedicate yourself.
Definitely. Guys, if you're interested in a Preservan franchise of your own, Ty here is giving UpFlip viewers a special link. Check the description below. Well, thanks for showing us this job site. It's been super cool. Do you guys have anybody else working around the area that we can go see?
Yeah, actually, we are doing a franchisee training right now with a couple of new locations, and it's actually in the neighborhood that I live. So I'd like to show you guys that.
Let's go check it out.
All right.
So where are we and what do we have going on behind us here?
Yeah, so right now we're in historic Mesta Park, which is one of our beautiful historic neighborhoods in Oklahoma City, and we're doing a franchisee training. So we got a couple of our franchise locations here, and they are learning from our technical expert, Josie, how to do repairs.
Awesome, that's sweet. And how long does it take to get a franchisee up and running?
From when they actually kind of get the business started, they kind of go through the whole agreement process. It's about 90 to 120 days, depending on the time of year.
So does this training typically take place at a client's house, or is it always at your same training house? How does that work for you?
No, we try to give them some real world experience. And so we just look across the dozens of jobs that we currently have open or available at the time here in Oklahoma City, and then find ones that will give them a good level of experience, from working on older stuff to working on windows to, working on newer stuff. So we just try to give them plenty of experience and different types of areas to repair.
What kind of overhead costs can one expect running this business?
The overhead costs are really pretty low from the franchisee standpoint because there's no requirement for a building. Like we talked about earlier, not driving big trucks or big vans. We're keeping that footprint really small. We don't have a ton of tools, and we also have a ton of employees. It's kind of the way that our system is built. It's really a person in a vehicle doing a job. So it's really, really low overhead. Usually after our disclosed expenses that we have in our FDD, you're talking about still keeping about 40% of that for yourself.
How has your leadership style changed or evolved over the years?
Well, it's changed a lot. I've been in the construction industry for almost 20 years. And when I started, I think I was pretty hot-headed, and that's kind of the way the construction industry is. You just talk louder to get things done. You yell louder. You might throw a hammer if you really want to make a point. And I learned over time that wasn't really very productive. I didn't really get as much done as I thought. And a lot of that came from when I had this opportunity to do a pilot for HGTV. And that really kind of changed my mindset, because when I was working with them, you had this production crew, and you had the producer, and the producer producer was always right behind the camera, and he was so encouraging all the time, like smiling and he would tell me, like, he would say, Ty, that was really great. I loved everything you did. Your enthusiasm, you're so exciting. Like, that's really great, but I want you to do it completely different because that's not what we're looking for. This is what we're looking for. And he would like amp me up. And then he would like give me caffeine, and then we'd go for it again. And so I learned a couple of lessons: stay super positive and give your team a lot of caffeine.
Hey, two very important messages right there. Yeah. So I see all those franchisees learning in the back. I want to learn something too. Can you maybe show me a few tricks of the trade?
Yeah, I'd like to show you how we mix a little epoxy up if it's cool with you.
Let's do it. All right, I am ready to make some epoxy. Show me what we got going on.
All right, man. So the first thing we need to do is we need to wear some gloves.
Right on.
This stuff can be kind of nasty. I would say like it definitely will ruin your clothes.
So what are some systems and processes that you have in place to keep the process smooth for franchisees?
One of the best systems that we have is probably the way that we manage our leads that come in. So all of our franchisees across the United States, all their leads flow into our contact center, where we then disperse the leads for them. So it allows them to stay in the field doing the work that they need to do, working on site, and not have to worry about, like, you know, Mrs. Smith called up and, you know, looking for, you know, to take these gloves off and all the stuff that would have to be done. We handle that for them. We're able to go into their schedules and book appointments for them. So I think that that's the best, because starting out in the home service business, working for my dad's business, that was always the worst part.
Yeah.
Was like, you want to get to the leads. You know, we all know speed to lead matters. It's hard to do when you're actually out there in the field making it happen. So that's probably the best thing that we do to support our franchisees.
That's awesome. So what's the first thing we're gonna do here to get this epoxy going?
So the first thing you're gonna do, and so we have multiple steps, but the first thing is if the wood is rotting, we really need to first make it hard again, consolidate it. And so we've got this liquid product here, and these are products that we developed with our manufacturer. Our product is called Everresin. You can't buy this off the shelf at any home center, anywhere. I'll let you do this, actually. Is that cool?
Sweet. Yeah, totally.
So you want to get a cup, and we're just going to keep this simple. So these are 1-to-1, and you're going to get one pump of this all the way down and one pump of that one.
Gotcha.
So one is the actual resin. You can push it all the way down.
All the way down. There we go. And
the other pump is the hardener. And we have pump it again because
again. There
we go. So then hold that there.
Alrighty.
And then you want to take it. You want to take a little popsicle stick.
Sure.
And mix it up. And then depending on how you're repairing, we would come into those holes, and we could take something like this.
Yeah.
And we could inject that into the wood.
Ooh.
So that's one way to do it. The other thing we could do is definitely for some of those fibers that are out there, we could take this and we could, you know, brush that on. This is going to be what we make sure gets in the wood really solid. So when we add the filler product in there, we've got that deep chemical bond that makes it where it adheres permanently.
Sweet. So what's next? We got a couple 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah. So this is like the flagship product right here. This is Everresin thermal setting wood, and that it's basically like epoxy wood. And so I'll let you do it. So it's super simple. Same as that. It's a 1-to-1 mix, but this is going to be more like eyesight and feel.
Sure.
So get a golf ball size of each one to make it. It's pretty cool feeling, doesn't it? Kind of feels like a very airy Play-Doh.
It does.
Now bring them together and start mixing them up.
Mix them up. Okay.
Yeah. So you want to mix it until you have it all blended in one color.
Gotcha. Want to start a home restoration business that actually makes money? With our new course, The Restore Blueprint, you'll learn from Ty, who built a $1.3 million per year home restoration business. He'll show you the exact steps he used to find a profitable niche, attract homeowners, and land high-paying projects. Plus, you'll get Ty's proven marketing strategies to help you grow fast, stand out, and a lot more. Click the link below or scan the QR code to get started. All right, does this look better?
That's better. You want to see where this goes?
Let's do it.
Let me show you.
All right, so we're here at the window. We're gonna apply some epoxy.
Right.
What are we doing?
Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna actually first apply the liquid stuff that you mixed up.
Nice.
And I'm gonna apply it right here so it'll absorb into these kind of, you know, solid but still kind of soft fibers. And that way we'll have something for the filler to bond to. And then once we have that nice and saturated, the wood really soaks that up, then we're ready to apply the filler product to that.
So we've got the consolidant put in here. What's the next step?
The next step is to take the filler, the putty, and to fill that gap in there. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just gonna bond. We start to push it in there. Not like, it's not that complicated here.
It's not rocket surgery.
I mean, there's some secrets that we hold about how to do this for the franchisees, but the basics of it,
right,
really easy to kind of wrap your head around. We just kind of pack that in there. really get it pushed in.
Nice.
So that we have something to sand down later. And we can even take like something like this and we kind of,
Oh, over the top. Okay.
yeah, kind of lubricate it and kind of blend it in a little bit more.
Gotcha.
So there you go. It's not perfect, but honestly, we're just going to come back and sand it later. You know, I tell people all the time, it's going to look like a third grader did it, but we'll come back tomorrow, I promise, and it's going to look amazing.
That's awesome. So if you could go back in time, say you had a time machine, you could change one thing, what would it be and why?
You know, I think it would be to get into one of those rooms with people who were thinking big faster. I think I stayed in the rooms with the small thinkers too long, but I'd have gotten my head in the right space and I wouldn't allow that stuff to influence me as much as I did. So yeah, get in the right rooms with the right people who are inspiring you, who believe in you, and get out of the rooms where the people that didn't.
Definitely. Where do you find those rooms?
Ooh, man, where do you find the rooms of great people? Man, that's a tough one. You know what I would say is be willing to take a meeting, always open to learn something new. You see somebody doing something really cool, tell them you think what they're doing is really cool and see if they'll talk to you. That has been a game changer for me. One of the mentors for me is Charles in Turnicola, and it started by me just like getting on his YouTube channel and going, thank you so much for helping me out. This information has been so valuable. That's how I got connected. So it's really just been raising my hand and saying, hey, can we talk? You have something really cool. You know something really cool. I'd like to learn from you. And then those rooms start to open up. And a couple of weeks ago, I was in a room that Charles had invited me into, and it was some of the best minds in franchising in one space in Dallas, like growing and learning together. And it was all because I just raised my hand on YouTube and said, thank you for helping me.
Did you ever think that you would be where you are today?
No. Not at all. Like, I had big ideas and I knew I wanted to do something that made an impact, but I didn't really know early on exactly how that was going to happen. I stayed open to the opportunities, but I had no idea that I would franchise. I had this idea that I'd like build something big, like big building, big construction company, but rather than being a mile wide, I always had this envision to be a mile wide and an inch deep. And somewhere along the lines, I learned to, like, instead of that, be a mile deep and an inch wide. And that was a game changer for me and kind of how we get to where we are right now.
That's awesome. And maybe what's one thing you would, tell your younger self if you could go back and talk to?
I would tell them to focus, stay in your lane. Like, when I was first getting started, I was just like everybody else. No job is too big, no job is too small. Master something, go deep with it. And then that's when the doors really started to open up for me.
What's your advice to those who feel like they don't have what it takes to start a franchise financially?
From someone who started from scratch, it's really hard. A business needs money to get started. When you're starting from scratch, nobody wants to give you any money because they have no idea what you're even talking about. There's no proof. And so you go to the SBA or, the bank, or you go to friends and they're like, they're not going to kind of help you out. But the difference is with franchising, because there's this proven system, because there is this documentation on what you could potentially make, it makes it so much easier to get the capital that you need to invest in something like this. And so you can go to the SBA and the SBA can loan you the capital that you need with a small down payment, or you can go to your 401k possibly and use that as a way to invest in the franchise system. So there's so many more options than when you're just trying to start from scratch and bootstrap something.
How much of the business for you is commercial versus residential? And which do you recommend that entrepreneurs go for?
Yeah, those are good questions. So for us here at our corporate location, it's about 30% is commercial, about 70% is residential. And honestly, encourage people to go for both. You're always going to start, at least in my opinion, with residential. It's the easiest go-to-market strategy. It's the lowest cost. You can get to work fast. You can put some yard signs out, you can run some ads, and you can go to work. And that's what's most important. Get cash flow rolling, right? But over time, you want to build in some security in your business by having that repeat customer. And that comes from commercial, property managers, real estate agents, contractors. You want to build that in to create security in your business. And it takes residential to start, but then you want to start building in that commercial work.
So let's kind of talk about a few of the pros and cons of residential and commercial, because I'm sure each have their own unique challenges as well as their own unique positives.
Yeah. What I like about residential is the turn. You can get in, get out, get jobs done, and get paid fast. A lot of times these are credit card payments through our software. And so I really like that. And of course, I like just working on beautiful houses.
Yeah.
That makes it fun. Commercial will get you those higher tickets, which is nice. But a lot of times, the downside of that is slower payment terms. So, you're going to be maybe on a net 30 or a net 15. You might have to deal with multiple layers of decision makers because maybe it's a church or a nonprofit or a school, something. So there are those other challenges. And with that kind of can sometimes come additional insurance that are required, but generally the revenue is worth it.
What would you say to somebody who has imposter syndrome?
Oh, wow. That sounds like something I just say to myself and like my self-talk. No, it's something that I think a lot of business owners like myself and entrepreneurs struggle with, because you just get this feeling that like what are you doing here? You're not qualified. Who are you to do this? But what I would do is encourage somebody to really look back and think at how far they have come. That's always what I try to do is you start thinking about like, I shouldn't be here right now. I'm not qualified to do this. But when you think about all the things you've done in the past, those really kind of set the stage for that you are qualified and you are in the exact place you need to be right now. And the place that you're headed is in front of you, and to keep going forward.
Throughout this interview, I've noticed that you have a tendency to call your customers your neighbors.
Yeah.
I'm curious, why is that?
Well, because my business started working for my neighbors. I decided I wanted to work on old houses. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help people restore their houses. And so I moved into this community, the one we're in right now, and I started working for the people that live next door to me. And it hit me one day, just right on the street here is a grocery store, and I was in the grocery store, and I had this project going on, and it wasn't going that great. We were kind of just really, I'm trying to think of a good way to say this, messing up big time. It happens. And I saw that homeowner in the grocery store. Thought to myself, oof, today was a bad day. I don't think I want to face her. So I was thinking about ducking down the other aisle, but I really needed to go down that aisle. I had a list from my wife. I needed to go down that aisle. And so I was like, no, that's not who I am. That's not the business I'm going to have. That's not the reputation we're going to have. I'm going to face it. I'm going to own it. And so I went down that aisle and I said, hey, and then she kind of scolded me a little bit.
Yeah.
Told me how disappointed she had been and kind of how the day had gone. And I got the bread that I was there to get and continued on, but it really just changed my mindset. One, that project completely turned around and she became a raving fan.
Nice.
And two, it just changed the way we were going to talk about people. And we were going to talk about our customer. We were going to call them our neighbor, and we were going to serve them like they were our neighbor. So we weren't going to avoid them. We weren't going to hide from them. And we were going to give them, and this is kind of where this came in, we were going to give them kind of the inside track to get things done and save you money, because that's what you would do for your neighbor.
What is one book you'd recommend all entrepreneurs read, and what was your biggest takeaway from it?
It'd be the Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. There are so many nuggets from that book about how to promote yourself and how to promote your business. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have to promote. Like, there's no way around it. I don't care what your digital advertising strategy is. You're going to have to get out there and cheerlead for your business. And that's what that book is all about. But it also has this one statement that it says, pig-headed discipline and determination. And that is what you're going to need. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to start a business, you're going to be pig-headed discipline and determination to be successful.
Across 15 different locations, how do you manage a quality control process? How are you making sure that all these customers are getting the same experience?
That's a really great question. Actually, I'll show you. It's on my phone. We use this app called Company Cam. All of our franchisees use this same app.
Cool.
And so from across the nation, we can look at the location. So right now, I know it knows where I'm at. And I can see the project, and I can see what's going on. I can see how far we're in the repair. I can see, I can see those day one applications that we were just looking
Photos,
at.
that's nice.
I can see that all across the United States.
Oh.
Not only that, our franchisees can use this, because if they're ever doing something like this, I can say, hey, check out this job, check out Lucinda, and we did something just like that. Also, our support team can use this as well. We have a franchise success coach. Her job is really about making sure they understand that the way to do this right technically, and so she can work with them using that. Combined with our field service management software, which is Jobber, we can go in kind of top level, work with all of our franchisees, just like you said, to make sure everybody's getting a consistent experience.
What's the most stressful part of running this business?
The most stressful part of running this business, I'd say it'd be twofold, and they really come down to the people who are trusting us. The first thing is the people are trusting us with their houses. That's really stressful. The responsibility that we have when we show up at someone's house to take care of their castle, the biggest investment that most of them will ever make outside of starting a business. And so that's the other stressful part, is that each and every one of these people who come out here to be franchisees who have trusted us and kind of taken part in our mission, they're making huge investments in time because they're usually leaving a job to get this started. And of course, investments in money, you may be borrowing money, maybe using the SBA. That's a stressful part. Just knowing that we have this responsibility to deliver this service to them, to support this with them, to build this together with them. I think that's what adds a lot of stress for me, but it's also at the same time totally worth it. I wouldn't do anything else.
Definitely. I mean, that can definitely be a lot of stress. I mean, what's something you do that you can, suggest to others do to help manage stress like that?
Man, help manage stress. So I'm a big journaler. That's my thing. I like to wake up early. I have 6 kids. And so the only time that's quiet in my house is between 4:30 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. And so I like to get up really early. I like to read and I like to journal to kind of keep myself centered and to kind of remember why I'm doing this.
Great. If you enjoyed this episode, then episode 202 is another business you've probably never thought of. And this one's lucrative. Very lucrative. Go see for yourself. Thank you for watching, and make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell. We'll see you next time.